common question is, how difficult should practice be? If I train in hard mode, is that going to make practice easier? If I train too easy, is it going to make it so I can't hit stuff? Whatever, fill in the blanks. So anyway, I just want to talk through a couple different perspectives and give you my thoughts. For the bulk of training, if you don't have a special situation or a match the next day, whatever, the thing I recommend is training at just a simmering level of frustration. I'll suggest there's kind of, let's say, 3 speeds that you could shoot training in, or levels of aggression. The first one would just be doing what you know how to do, which would be the way you'd shoot a qualification, shoot a match, something like that. Just performance on demand, something that you know you can do as long as you stick to the plan. The next level would be kind of a simmering frustration level, where you're not going totally crazy, but it's just a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit beyond what your normal is, as you're just trying to get a little bit better. But the important part of this is you're training at a speed you can articulate if something goes wrong. For example, I didn't see my sight on that target. I felt my hand clamp down and I pushed into the shot. I know I did that. I should have done this and I didn't. I remember not seeing this or seeing this thing happen. I remember staring at the dot, and so on. The third speed that I would recommend you not using is basically just full unhinged or full undisciplined lunatic, which those are fun to feed the gram with. We've all seen videos like that. But for the bulk of your training, if you are going to discover if you are successful at the same time while let's say you're recording this, you bang out some great drill for the gram, and you walk down to the target and you are finding out at the same time as the camera if the drill is successful or not, that's not really a productive place to be training at, because you're firing hopers, wishers, those kind of things. So anyway, that's not where I would suggest you spend the bulk of your training. In that simmering frustration level, that's going to be the right point, because you don't want to get so angry that you want to sell your guns or throw things or quit shooting altogether. But it shouldn't be so easy that there's no challenge to you and it's just an easy day without any frustration. You're just kind of going through the motions. That's not going to get you where you want to go in training, because obviously if you want to get better, you're going to have to do hard things. I'm not a gym person, but if you just went to the gym and lifted the same amount of weights every day, that would not increase your personal best if you kept stacking on weights every week or month or whatever. Just like driving a car, any other analogy I could choose. So the important part is that you keep the expectations realistic, but the difficulty is just a little bit beyond what you're comfortable with, because that's going to put you in a spot where you can learn, and then hopefully your new baseline improves. If you have a match coming up, people kind of vary what they're, or a qualification, some kind of a test. People vary in strategies or what they like doing. I get for a lot of times, for me, if I have a match or something I really care about coming up, I'm the last practice, so before the match, or maybe the last couple practices before the match, depending on how major it is, I'll just practice in a way that I want to be behaving at the match. So kind of that first mode, just disciplined shooting. Maybe I don't have a single miss for the whole practice session, and it's just very nice, accountable shooting at a realistic pace where I want to behave, or where I would be winning stuff or competitive. But just programming myself to not make mistakes, to stay on the rails, something like that. If you don't have anything coming up for a while and you want to try crazy hard training, I get that too. I have a couple friends that do that, where the training is just so difficult. At some points, practicing with one friend specifically, my goal sometimes is just don't get a penalty. Just try to keep up and do what they're doing. Don't try to catch them. I can't beat them. Just don't get a penalty. And depending on how you're wired, maybe once in a while that's okay too, just to see what you're capable of. But I'd like to suggest for the bulk of people, training at just that simmering frustration level, where it's not so crazy, it could never be done, but it's not so easy that you don't have to try, is where you should be. Because if you're paying attention at that simmering frustration level, you should be able to articulate back to yourself or recall what went wrong, what you didn't like that you did, what you wish you did differently, and that gives you feedback to take back to your dry fire training, hopefully correct that tendency, those habits, and then change the way you behave going forward. Or in the gym analogy, you keep stacking on more weight, and then something that seemed like a really heavy lift in the past isn't quite such a heavy lift once you're used to it and acclimated to doing that, or your skills have continued to improve. So anyway, Hopefully that makes sense and is helpful. If you have any questions or think I'm crazy, drop it below in the comments.